Oh, thank you. Awesome.
Very well.
That's just my way of getting some recognition. Like Preston said, I am an author about raw foods, and I consider it living foods. There's a bunch of names going out, and you can call it what you want. I call it a lifestyle. That's what I do. A little bit about me: I was really stuck in a destructive career, lifestyle. Did about every drug there is. Got off of that, and discovered raw food, and raw food was actually a salvation for me. It helped me combat years of toxicity, and right now I feel so good. It's been about 3 years that I've been 100%. All right, 99%. I don't do meat, fish, dairy, eggs, none of that stuff. I only do raw foods, vegetables, fermented foods, which have probiotics, and I do something called elixirs, and I use a lot of herbs in my food. Something I'm known for is combining medicinal herbs that you can grow in your own home or that grow wildly in nature. I use different types of mushrooms, different types of plants, you name it, I find a way to get it inside. A way that I've discovered to get these potent herbs inside of you is through things called tinctures, elixirs, and tonics. And what I do is I usually create solvents for my herbs, and I put a lot of the solvent into my smoothie and into my food. And I don't really want to get into that too much right now because it's really intricate how I do that. But there's a method to do it. It's in my book. You can check it out. Before I get started, I do want to open with, we're going to have questions for the last 15 minutes. I'm going to talk a little bit for like 45 minutes. And, the information I'm going to give to you is from my own experience. I am not a professional, I am a student of life, and as such, I have done years of research, both academically and spiritually, in my own realm with food and with all these herbs. So if you want to ask me questions about that, I could totally answer those questions for you. A little bit of the way that I view raw food is pretty much you got to eat what is grown in your own backyard. And it's something that I hold deep in my heart, that the best food comes from the closest place that you are living. Whether it be your apartment, whether it be your farm, or whether it be anywhere else on this planet. The best food comes from local, veganic processing. And the reason I say processing is because it's a good process, not like the process you see going on outside, you know, in the Gulf of Mexico with the place called the Dead Zone. I don't know if you all knew this, but there's a good place right on the Gulf of Mexico, right on the shore of the United States of America, called the Dead Zone, where there isn't any oxygen because of all the runoff that is created growing all this corn that we have in Iowa. And it's all a bunch of fertilizers and stuff like that that has leaked down to the Gulf through the Mississippi and is now creating all sorts of havoc. This is a big environmental issue. It has been pretty much on the scene for quite some time now, and it's getting more and more attention. And my radical philosophy is that you need to first talk about sustainability before you even move into what raw living food is all about. Because if you go into this thinking that you are going to improve your body and not the earth, then you are doing yourself a disservice, not only for yourself, but for your brothers and sisters. So my big philosophy is you gotta understand the earth, and you gotta really live one-to-one with the earth. Communicate with the earth in a way that you can grow your own food, and or buy from someone that grows. You know, I highly recommend everyone here go to local farmers markets, check that out, and you'll be surprised. I don't know if anyone in here has ever done this, but if you eat a fruit that grows 20 kilometers away versus 20,000 miles away, I mean, you'll be surprised at the difference in various textures, the colors, the abundance. There's something called Kirlian photography. I'm sure you've all seen this in books where they take pictures of foods and you can actually see the energy. When I was younger, when I was about 4 years old, no, I was about 7 years old, my first science project was testing the electricity in certain foods. And I bought an electrometer and I stuck these two little prods into tomatoes, into avocados, into potatoes, and I measured the electromagnetic force of these foods. And ever since that moment, I knew that there was some sort of power coming from this source. I didn't know what it was, but at the time I knew that it was something that had to do with food in its most natural state, not cooking it, eating it raw, organic if you can, veganic if you can. Veganic is just a way of growing your food, minus the animal manure that's used for organic growing. You can do this really easily. I really talk about it in my book a lot. Veganic farming, in a nutshell, is growing from seed to finish using no animal byproducts, including waste, manure, compost, none of that stuff. You pretty much sprout your own manure. And I talk about sprouting in my book. Sprouting is probably the most fundamental skill that everyone in here should learn if you want to get healthier. Sprout your beans, sprout your seeds, sprout everything. I have a whole closet in my room that's dedicated to sprouting different types of things. Alfalfa sprouts, monk sprouts, chia seed sprouts. I even sprouted hemp seed sprouts, which I think is illegal, but I'm going to get away with it because I'm doing it for scientific and educational purposes only. And I am not an expert, I am a student, so take this information as you will. I also have years of academic work under my belt. I have studied under probably the most amazing people on this planet. Victorious Kalvinicus, Karen Calabrese, which is my mentor. She studied directly under Anne Wigmore. And these are just people that have influenced my life, and it showed me kind of what to do and what not to do. And a lot of it has to do with detoxing. Detoxing is probably the most important thing that you can do right now to start feeling, looking, and just overall having this great aura. Detoxing is really fundamental to anyone. Detox 3 to 4 times a year is necessary. That's what I've been kind of taught, and that's what I practice. For me, raw living food is not about just making an awesome cuisine from this cool raw cookbook, or going to some raw fancy school where you could learn to make these awesome cakes and lasagnas. Raw food for me is having a bare bones kitchen where you have one blender that works sometimes, and where you have food that's mostly, I don't know, non-food. I call it so-called food. And that's everything that you see in the grocery store, including stuff that's in the produce section. My experience is over 10 years in the food industry. I have seen firsthand what goes on behind closed doors, and what you will learn if you read my book or if you look at any of the publications out there is that a lot of the stuff out there is really all about the money and not about you. So the Benjamins first, then come the humans. So that's my philosophy too. Don't buy any food from anywhere unless you grow it yourself, or if you go to a farmer's market. Farmer's markets are the best thing in the world. If you live somewhere cool like DC, you have the most abundant farmer's markets, up along the coast. I don't know, I'm pretty new to this area, but if one of you wants to take me out shopping, I would be more than happy to go along and show you what I eat. Anyways, so one thing I want to talk about before we move on is something called hybridized foods. And this is something that I want to bring to the forefront now because it's something that is really interesting with raw foodists. A lot of raw foodists, they include stuff like raisins, cranberries, dates, a lot of foods that don't have seeds in them. And foods that don't have seeds in them are called hybridized foods. The reason